In the endless maze of the webway, where time itself folds like broken glass and shadows whisper names best forgotten, there lies a place that few dare to even imagine, the Black Library. Hidden deep within the psychic labyrinth of the Eldar, it is not a library of stories or histories, but a vault of horrors, a collection of every cursed word, every daemon secret, every forbidden scripture ever born from chaos itself. They say the Harlequins guard it, those masked tricksters who serve the laughing god, Sigarak. They dance upon blades, laugh in the face of demons, and walk the borders between life and nightmare. But even among them there are stories they refuse to perform, and there are vaults within the library they refuse to open. One of those vaults is the Vault of the Null Word, and tonight its silence began to stir. Shadowseer Lyrathine of the Veiled Path was unlike the others of her kin. She did not seek laughter nor illusion. She sought understanding, the forbidden kind. Her mind burned with visions no mortal could comprehend, and in her dreams she heard the call of pages turning in the dark. The skeins of fate had shown her something that even her crystal orbs could not explain, her own reflection vanishing into a book written in black light. For weeks she tried to dismiss it, a trick of the warp, a vision twisted by the madness of foresight, but the dream persisted. Every night, she woke with the taste of ink on her tongue and her name echoing in her mind, whispered not by a voice but by something older, something hungry. So she went to the Mask of the Seven Shadows, the Harlequin company sworn to protect the library's hidden paths. She spoke to their leader, the Solitaire, whose face never changed, whose laughter could make demons weep. The library is whispering, she said, her tone trembling. Something long forgotten, stirs beneath the index, something wants to be read again. The Solitaire said nothing. He simply turned his mask toward her, the faint reflection of her own fear glinting in its mirrored surface. Finally he motioned to the archivist wraiths, ghostly sentinels made from ancient Eldar souls bound to the library's walls. The air grew cold as they spoke. Their voices echoed like wind through tombs. There is a vault that predates even our birth. It was sealed by those who came before the fall, a vault where the words themselves became alive, hungry. It was locked for eternity, and its name was erased from the records. Lyrathine's eyes glowed faintly. And yet, she said softly, it still calls. The wraith shuddered and one hissed through static and dust. Then beware, child of the Veiled Path, for that which was forgotten by chaos itself is not meant to be remembered, but curiosity is a poison older than time. And Lyrathine drank deeply of it. Days passed. The library grew restless. Books whispered in unison as if gossiping among themselves. Shadows lengthened. Psychic wards flickered. It was as though the entire place breathed, waiting. Lyrathine and her troop entered the Obsidian Index, a labyrinthine wing of the library where the tomes were chained to pillars of bone, and every step echoed through eternity. The air shimmered with suppressed power. Reality felt thinner here, like the skin of a drum stretched too tight. The Shadowseer raised her staff, its crystal tip glowing faintly. We are the keepers of forbidden knowledge, she whispered. By the authority of Sigarak opened to me. Before her a veil of darkness rippled. It was not a door. It was a wound in existence, sealed with psychic wards that bled light. On its surface were runes written in Eldar script, yet twisted and wrong, as if the letters themselves despised being read. Her troop hesitated. One Harlequin muttered, the air stinks of oblivion. Another whispered, no dance should begin where silence already reigns. But Lyrathine ignored them. With a steady breath, she pressed her palm to the seal. A sound like shattering glass filled the hall. The veil dissolved, and the vault opened. Inside there was no warmth, no echo, no time. The walls were smooth, carved from black stone that absorbed all light. Shelves rose higher than mountains, filled with books that should not exist, some made of metal, others of bone, some even pulsing faintly as if alive. Scrolls floated in the air, unraveling and re-rolling themselves in silence. At the far end stood a pedestal. On it lay a single book. It was plain, unadorned. Its cover was soft black leather, unmarked by any title or symbol. Yet every instinct in Lyrathine screamed to leave it untouched. It was as if the void itself had chosen to take the shape of a book. The Harlequins circled it warily. "Why is it alone?" asked one. The others seemed to fear it. Lyrathine felt her pulse quicken. The air hummed. The threads of fate around her shimmered violently as if trying to push her away. but she stepped closer. Her fingers brushed the cover, and the library screamed. Not aloud, but within her mind. The psychic noise was deafening. She saw visions, Eldar cities consumed by shadows, names written and erased from history, demons clawing at invisible walls, unable to remember who they were. The book did not hold knowledge. It held erasure. A whisper came, not from the room, but from inside her thoughts. We are the words that the dark gods forgot. The tome opened on its own. The pages were blank at first, then slowly, letters of darkness began to form. Lines that twisted, pulsed, and rearranged until one word emerged, her name. Lyrathine. Her breath caught. The air vanished from her lungs. The Harlequins shouted, their voices distant, distorted. One tried to pull her away, but his hand dissolved into mist. Another screamed in and vanished, mask dropping to the ground with a hollow clink. The troops scattered, leaping across shelves and shadows. But one by one, they disappeared. No cries, no blood, just silence as if they had never been. Lyrathine stumbled backward, her heart pounding. Her vision filled with black ink dripping from the ceiling like rain. The book pulsed once more, the whisper growing louder. To be remembered is to be devoured. To be forgotten is to be free. She tried to close it, but her hands passed through the pages as though through water. Her body flickered between existence and memory. The vault itself began to shift, the shelves turning into written sentences, the walls into moving paragraphs. The library was rewriting itself, and her along with it. With one desperate scream, she tore her staff through the veil of reality and leapt backward, out of the vault. She collapsed on the marble floor of the obsidian index. The door, or whatever it was, sealed shut behind her with a thunderous pulse. The silence that followed was complete. She looked around. Her troop was gone. Only one mask remained, the mask of the silent fool lying face up on the floor. Its painted grin gleamed in the darkness, and then from deep within the sealed vault came the faintest sound, the turning of a page. Lyrathine rose slowly, trembling. She could feel the book still whispering inside her thoughts, its words coiling around her mind like vines. The library around her stood silent, as though pretending nothing had happened. But she knew the truth. Something inside the black library had awakened. Something that remembered being forgotten, and now it knew her name. The black library had never been silent before. It always hummed with psychic whispers, with pages turning themselves, with the ghostly laughter of harlequins echoing through corridors that bent reality. But now, silence reigned. Heavy, watchful, almost as if the library itself was listening. Shadowseer Lyrathine stood alone at the entrance of the obsidian index. The mask of the silent fool still lay on the cold stone beside her boots. She had not moved for what felt like hours. Her trembling hands clutched her staff, its crystal tip glowing faintly with the fractured light of her soul. The vault was sealed again, but the whispers had not stopped. They crawled behind her eyes, soft and cold, like words brushing against her thoughts. You opened us, they said. You remembered us. Now, we remember you. She pressed her hands to her temples and screamed, but no sound escaped. The library swallowed her voice like it always swallowed secrets. She stumbled forward through the endless aisles, each step echoing like a heartbeat. The books around her watched. She could feel their attention, 1,000 invisible eyes turning as she passed. Some vibrated, others bled faintly, ink seeping from their covers like tears. And as she walked, she began to realize something terrible. The library was changing. The air shimmered strangely. The paths twisted upon themselves. A corridor she had known for centuries now led somewhere else entirely. The runes that guided the harlequins through the maze flickered, their meanings shifting, rearranging, vanishing. Reality itself was being rewritten. She reached the Hall of Reflections, where the crystal walls once displayed fragments of possible futures. Now they showed only one, her own face, staring back but with black ink dripping from her eyes. Her reflection smiled when she did not. You shouldn't have looked, it whispered. Lyrathine stumbled back, her heart pounding. The reflection didn't fade. It stepped forward, still within the glass, as if eager to break through. Who are you? She demanded. I am the part of you that remembers the null word, the reflection said. The part that the library cannot erase. The Shadowseer gripped her staff tightly. No, you are an illusion. The reflection laughed. You call me illusion? You who dances on the edge of dreams and madness? You touched the book, Lyrathine. It wrote you. You are a sentence in its story now. Her hands shook. She wanted to deny it, but she could still feel the faint pulsing inside her chest. Not her heartbeat, but the rhythm of a page turning. I will seal it again, she said through clenched teeth. I will fix what I've done. But her reflection only smiled wider, its inked tears streaking down the glass. You can't seal what has already begun to remember. Lyrathine turned and fled. The halls of the library bent and shifted as she ran. Statues of Eldar heroes turned their heads to follow her. Floating scrolls whispered her name. A chorus of voices rose from nowhere. Her missing harlequins. Their tones distorted, distant, fading in and out like broken echoes. Shadow Seer. One voice hissed. You left us there. Another whimpered. We are not gone. Only rewritten. She clutched her chest, gasping.
No, I tried to save you.
But they didn't listen. Or perhaps they couldn't. The words themselves had replaced them. They were becoming the story. And the story was alive. Finally, she reached the chamber of the High Archivists, where the Wraith librarians lingered in their eternal watch. The air here shimmered with runes of containment, the strongest wards in all the webway. The Wraiths turned their hollow gazes toward her. Their forms flickered with unease. You opened it, one rasped. The vault of the null word breathes again. Lyrathine fell to her knees. I didn't mean to. It called to me. It was already awake before I touched it. The vault does not wake, another Wraith said, its voice trembling. It remembers. You have become its echo. I can destroy it, she cried. Tell me how. The Wraiths exchanged glances, ancient minds humming in silent debate. Finally, the eldest among them floated forward. To destroy the null word, it said slowly. You must erase yourself from its story. You must forget your name. She frowned. Forget. My name? It is your name it holds, the Wraith continued. Names are anchors in reality. The null word consumes existence through memory. If you let go of your name, it cannot hold you. Her heart froze. You're asking me to cease being Lyrathine? Yes, the Wraith said softly. To save the library, you must vanish willingly before it erases everything unwillingly. For a long moment she said nothing. The thought of abandoning herself, her identity, her soul, her memory, and it was unbearable. But then she remembered her troop, their laughter echoing through the halls, their masks gleaming in the torchlight. They were gone now, erased because of her. She rose slowly. Then tell me where to begin. The Wraiths led her through the forbidden paths of the library, deeper than she had ever gone before. The architecture changed. Walls became moving glyphs. The air pulsed with unholy energy. Here, the library blurred with the warp itself, a borderland between knowledge and madness. At last they arrived at a chamber filled with mirrors, each reflecting countless versions of her face, laughing, screaming, dying, disappearing. This, the Wraith whispered, is the mirror of unmaking. To forget your name, you must step inside. But beware, the null word will fight you. It will try to make you remember. If you fail, you will not die. You will become one of its pages. Lyrathine swallowed hard. The mirrors rippled faintly like liquid silver. Behind her she could hear faint footsteps, the laughter of her erased harlequins, their voices growing louder. Come back to us, they sang. It's so quiet here. Tears welled in her eyes. I'm sorry, she whispered. Forgive me. She took one step toward the mirror, then another. Her reflection stared back, the one with ink in her eyes. You can't escape us, it said softly. You are already written. Lyrathine's fingers brushed the mirror's surface. It rippled. She felt cold rush through her bones. I will not be your story, she whispered. I will not be forgotten like them. The reflection smiled, its voice becoming a whisper of 1,000 others. Then you will be remembered. Forever. And with that, the mirror swallowed her whole. Silence fell again. The Wraiths hovered, motionless. The air trembled with psychic backlash. From within the mirror, faint light flickered, and then went dark. But deep in the sealed vault where the null word rested, a new page began to form. And upon it, in shimmering ink, appeared one sentence. Shadow Seer Lyrathine stepped into the mirror and became its reflection. The book pulsed. It was remembering again. The Black Library was changing. Where once it had stood as the sacred vault of forbidden knowledge, now its walls trembled with something far older, far hungrier. The corridors twisted like veins of a living thing, Books floated through the air like birds with broken wings. Pages turned themselves in slow, rhythmic unison, as though the entire library was breathing. And every breath it took whispered a name. Lyrathine, the High Archivists, those ancient wraiths bound to the library since before the fall, could feel the infection spreading. Runes of protection flickered and burned away. Entire sections of the library and whole halls of scrolls khana were vanishing, replaced by black pages that spoke in whispers and bled ink into the air. The null word is awake, one wraith murmured. Its language spreads like fire. Soon all that is written will belong to it. Then we must stop it, said another, even if it means burning what we have sworn to protect. But they knew it was already too late. For the vault was open, not in space, but in memory, and the one who had touched it, Shadowseer Lyrathine, was gone. Or so they believed. Far beyond the reach of their sight, within the mirror of unmaking, Lyrathine floated in endless darkness. Her body was gone. Her mind was a flicker of light drifting through an ocean of ink. Around her, countless reflections of herself whispered and wept. Some begged for release, others laughed in madness. She had tried to forget her name, to erase herself to stop the book, but something inside the mirror had refused to let go. The null word had rewritten her. Now she was both reader and written. Dream and sentence. She saw the library from above, every shelf, every vault, every memory, and all trembling, rewriting themselves in new patterns. The null word was consuming everything, turning knowledge into silence and silence into itself. And yet, deep within the ink, she heard the faint laughter of Segarak, the laughing god. You opened the wrong page, little Shadowseer, the voice chuckled, echoing like distant thunder. But every tragedy needs its fool. So dance and finish your story. The word sparked something inside her, a memory, a spark of who she was before the ink. Her name, Lyrathine. She opened her eyes and the mirror shattered. The shards of the mirror of unmaking fell across the chamber of reflections, each one glowing with black light. From them stepped a figure, or perhaps a shadow of one. Her mask was cracked. Her robes were soaked in ink. Her once glowing staff was now blackened, its crystal core pulsing faintly. Her eyes, once bright with psychic fire, now glimmered like dark mirrors. The Wraith Archivists turned toward her, weapons of light forming in their hands. You should not exist, one hissed. You are part of it now. Lyrathine's voice was soft, echoing with layered tones. Yes, and because I am part of it, I can end it. The air around her pulsed. Words appeared in midair, shimmering runes of both light and shadow. Ancient, Eldar glyphs twisting with impossible symbols from the warp. She raised her staff and the runes burned brighter. The library shook. You cannot fight the null word, cried one of the wraiths. It is language. It feeds on meaning. I know, she said, but I am no longer bound by meaning. Lyrathine strode through the corridors, each step leaving trails of black light that burned away the corruption. The whispers in the air screamed her name, not in reverence but in terror. Books burst into flame, scrolls dissolved into ash. The library resisted, twisting its halls to stop her, but she kept walking. At last, she reached the sealed veil of the vault of the null word. It rippled at her approach almost as if afraid. You wrote me, she said softly. Now I will write you. She pressed her staff to the surface. The veil trembled, then opened. Inside the vault was no longer a room. It was an endless void filled with words, floating sentences, whispering names, fragments of history and memory spinning like stars in the dark. And at the center, upon its pedestal, rested the book, the null word. It glowed faintly, pulsing like a living heart. As she stepped closer, the whispers grew louder, her own voice among them, echoing back her fears, her guilt, her memories. You caused this. You brought us back. You cannot stop what is already written. She ignored them. She knelt before the book. You took everything from me, she whispered. But you forgot one thing. The book's pages flipped violently, trying to drown her words in sound and shadow. She smiled faintly. You forgot that I am a harlequin. Then she laughed. Not a human laugh, not even an Eldar one, but a sound that rippled through dimensions. The laughter of Kegarach, the laughing god echoing through her. Her body dissolved into light. Her laughter filled the vault. The pages of the null word began to twist, burning with psychic flame, each sentence rewriting itself into nonsense. Words screamed as they vanished. Realities cracked. The vault shook violently. The book fought back, but she was already inside it. Her laughter became words, and those words became fire. And then silence. When the wraiths dared to enter the vault again, they found only ashes. The null word was gone. The pedestal was empty. The vault walls were smooth and still. The corruption had stopped, but in the quiet they noticed something strange. On the floor, burned into the stone, were faint letters, the only remaining words in that infinite hall. Every library needs a story, and beneath it, the story ends when it forgets itself. The wraiths stood in silence. One murmured, "She erased herself," and the null word with her. Another whispered, "Perhaps not erased, perhaps remembered differently." For as they spoke, a faint laughter echoed through the halls of the library, soft, distant, playful. And sometimes, when the harlequins dance in the black library, they claim to see a shadow among them, a figure with ink-stained hands and a cracked mask, dancing between worlds, laughing softly as if she knows how every story ends. They call her the Forgotten Shadow. No record of her exists. No name remains. And yet, sometimes the books whisper her name even though it was never written. Lyrathine. The library sleeps again, but deep in the webway, when the air grows still and the pages rustle in the dark, the forgotten terrors still wait, quiet, patient, remembering the taste of a shadow-seer's soul. Because some stories never truly end. Thank you for joining this haunting journey into the Black Library. If you want more dark Warhammer stories like this, hit subscribe and ring the bell, because the next tale will take you deeper into the madness of the warp. Legends say that those who forget the story are doomed to live it again. So don't forget to like, comment, and share this story before the null word remembers your name.